I'm back into it.
That was absolutely beautiful. Like I don't even want to lie to you.
Thank you for that. It's something that I've noticed is part of my existence, my purpose in life. To just bring some sort of healing and some sort of spiritual gathering, of self. We've all gone through things that made us wary of certain things and external factors, and it's just important to remember that like you yourself are more important than anything, and you are the light that is shining in the earth, and we see that light. So bringing that out and bringing that out of a person is something that I love doing. Not even if it's unintentional, but I just love seeing people shine so bright that I can see my own reflection from that. So it's very hot. It's very hot. It's something that I really just get into quite often. But yeah, thank you for even feeling what you felt. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you were meant to feel it. You are definitely meant to feel it.
It's actually crazy because earlier today I had an interview with another fellow creative. He's a composer by the name of Ulwazi Kumalo, and he was basically just telling me about how this one year he had this sort of out of body experience where he was just composing something and he sort of just had this epiphany and just this moment of enlightenment. I think more than anything, the reason why I'm mentioning him, in relation to what we just listened to now, is the power of music, that it's able to invoke emotion, and it's able, it's got different energies, and it's able to inspire different things out of you. We just need to appreciate this powerful entity that is music.
Oh, definitely. It's something that's way above what we, the people that make it, or even the consumers do. It's that's why it's always said that it's the universal language and all of that. It's because everyone understands it. I don't think I've ever heard of a person on earth that didn't like any kind of music. And that alone just tells you that some people always want to connect in different ways through something that's beyond what their physicality is. So creating and taking and consuming music is a very, very, I don't know, it's a very subliminal process that we really sometimes overlook, and it's because of creatives that kind of inspire that change. Like you said with Lazi and them having like a year of like that epiphany, that one inspiration can literally change your life so much that it could literally spill into other people. So something I usually say is that I want to fill my cup so much that it spills into other people's cups. So with creating music, I just want to make sure that I touch myself as deep as I can, so that I can be fulfilled, and my fulfillment will show in the the audience's reception. So the fundamental basis of music generally is to change someone's mood, or so their emotion or their attitude at that point, so or to even enhance it. So it's very spiritual. We can try and speak some sort of change into people's lives, and it might not be understood because of other influences or factors, but through music it's definitely much easier to relate to what the person's saying. So yeah, you are definitely right.
Basically, with you and getting into music and creating the music that you actually do, and sort of the gift that you've got in being able to invoke such feelings out of individuals that are listening, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking or whether you're singing on a song or whether you're creating music. Is this something that you sort of had prior to making music, and you just sort of carried it into the music making process?
So my real name is Mtobisi, and it just in general it means mediator and a person that eases, and kind of alleviates pain from other people's lives. So I've carried that essence in me since birth, essentially. But realizing my stance in music and how important it is for me to make it the way I do. I think that really hit me when I was so okay. I've always been singing, but it hadn't been something that I really thought was my life, because I was just told to sing, and I realized I just saw myself on certain stages in my past. But I think as a teenager, understanding yourself and where you want to go, and in life, what makes you or tickles your fancy. I realized that there's something that has been riding in my life, but I couldn't, pinpoint. So knowing that my power resides more in, telling stories and all of that, I tried various means. But when I tried music again, I will say again because I thought maybe it wasn't for me. Finding myself in that was a turning point to where I saw how it influenced people around me. So I was 13 years old singing to some lady that was just speaking of, she wants singers for a choir. And I was like, okay, cool. I sang to her. And that actually led me up to, performing on the 2010 FIFA World Cup stage. I saw that this is beyond me and this is something that I I'm meant to do. So being on the stage where I was performing behind Shakira and Freshly Ground, as their background dance, I'm a background singer. I had a moment where I forgot that I was singing with other people. I saw every single person, every single light, and I thought that was all for me, and I felt satisfied in that. So whenever I tried doing anything, I wanted that feeling of satisfaction, and I've never found it with anything but music. And my making of music, I think it's always a thing I draw into, that I want to be able to perform this and feel this, and feel that same feeling that I felt in 2010. So my life eternally will be based on, changing and power and healing and all of that. And for me, that's all I want to do. I don't know if I'm even answering your question well, but I'm just realizing so many things as I'm speaking right now, that I'm in the right path.
Mm, mm.
Whether or not certain things were inspired or changed, the path has always been this path, and I'm on it. I'm kind of directing myself or projecting myself into greater means, but this is still destined for me. This was even when I was born. So that's why I even mentioned my name, and how that just played a part in my entire life. So um, even tomorrow, I probably have this same feeling. And it's something that's eternally just ongoing.
You definitely answered the question well. I really like that you went in
Thank
depth,
you.
it paints a clearer picture and whatnot. I'd like to believe that, you are the person that you are today, because of your life experiences leading up to this moment. And then I'm trying to think back now to the 2010 FIFA World Cup. And, when you said that you were 13 years old, when you started singing, and that basically then led to the 2010, FIFA World Cup. And wasn't that sort of like a daunting experience for you, at that age, and if it wasn't, or whether it was, how did you sort of, get into that mindset of, well, I'm about to perform with the likes of Shakira and Freshly Ground?
In hindsight, there was no mental preparation because it was living in the moment. This is before the Instagrams. This is before wanting to capture every single moment. So living in that exact moment every single second of the day, that made me feel that, like I said in the previous answer, I felt that everything was, in the right path. So everything that I was taking in felt right. Especially because we had mentors that would come in and speak to us. Me being the youngest person on that stage could seem pretty daunting, but I think that being a formative age, that's where you just soak up everything to the point where you just want more. It's like an adrenaline rush. So we'd have mentors that would come in and just speak to us. I remember at some point, John Legend just walked in and was like, "Yo, I saw what you guys been doing. It's you're doing well, all of that, and just empowering us and just guiding us as young artists." And that was like a moment where, yes, I didn't expect it, but I've always envisioned myself having discussions with people that are seen as important and that are, established artists in the industry. So I've always known that I would rub shoulders some sort of way, but being in that moment, you just sit there and you say, yes, this is finally this moment. I'm taking it in, and I'm going to make sure that I use it tomorrow to my advantage. So it's that exact thing. So I remember, I think there was one moment that really just shook me for a bit, that I couldn't even contain. So we were just about to jump on stage, I remember Alicia Keys was just about to finish her set, and as she's walking out, the stage manager just comes towards us and says, "Oh, by the way, just remember that like you have around 4 billion people that are watching you, so don't mess up." And that alone was like, wait, hold up, wait, for what people? Excuse me. So like, I think that moment was what I could say was the most daunting, because that's when it made sense that, oh, geez, it's not just rehearsals like the other days. Now it's, people are really, really waiting for this. South Africa was totally different at that point. Also, I think that playing that into effect, that, changed the paradigm so much, because South Africa was so welcoming. South Africa was this, united kind of place where, everything just boomed. And even in the globe, the entire globe. So it felt like the right moment to be doing what I'm doing. So me being on that stage, I just saw that, okay, yes, there is this amount of people that, are watching, but they're watching because they want to, they act, they're not forced to. So that alone told me that I must be doing something great to be watched by people that are actively doing that. So it was all of those things, just taking that into account. And it might sound like I might, I was like very mature for my age, which kind of is true, but that's just how I was naturally formed in terms of what I like doing. So had it been school or something that I really didn't like, and I was, put in a position where I was, judged or just watched by a huge amount of people, I would have then felt some type of way. But because this was my calling and this is what I'd been doing even before that time, just hearing compliments from people when I'm just singing, walking down the road, like I'd always had a boost that, yes, your vocals are top one. So it's those kind of things. And yeah, it was a daunting moment, briefly, just for a minute or two. But when the song started, the Waka Waka song, and everything, the lights changed and everything just blew up, that's when I knew it's go time. That's the, I actually really want to just go back to that moment right now. Like that was life changing. That was life changing.
And I mean, even for anyone who's just, listening to this right now, I'm chatting to Aux Alaio, and they basically make music that, for me, like off the top of my head, I'm going to say this music communicates with the soul. I'm thinking of tracks, along the lines of Memory Lane, Plucked from the Skies. When I first listened to, to some of your music on your SoundCloud, the one thing that stood out to me was your beat selection, and it being like completely unique from anything that you would expect. These kind of beats you would expect maybe from, the likes of Bjork or Kilo, or what this is. So
yes,
like for you, what made you decide, to sort of think out the box and not really box yourself into, what society would expect?
Sure. So my entire life has been a projection of trying to be different, not even trying to be different, but being different, as opposed to conforming to what life tells you to do. So I'm a queer person, non-binary. I go by they them pronouns. So that in its own is outside the box in terms of what the norm is and what we have gathered the world to be.
Yeah.
So my entire life has always been trying to, like I said, conform to these measures. But whenever I tried doing that in music, it wouldn't happen. So I would be very masculine presenting. I would act like a boy. I would, make my life seem easier so that people cannot judge me and all of that. And that really put me in a box. And knowing that I was in a box just with my behavioral patterns made me so anxious about being in a box in terms of my music and my creativity. So much so that I thought about it as, my life generally, and where I stand and where I want to go with everything. So when I then unraveled who I was and, started coming out to myself and to the people that I know I love and all of that, that kind of translated in my music as well, where I then just had a start of being an artist that's always trying to break boundaries, like I did breaking the boundaries that were set, by society. So it's something that I always, carry in my life. So the type of music that I listen to is literally just, something that people don't generally take as, good music or anything that is playworthy. That even spills into my creativity and what I like consuming and what I like viewing, listening to, creating, and like just everything that is about me is always different and is always challenging. And because I live for challenges, I'm always trying to, take it a step further than I did before. So my sound and my production, I just love doing things that I didn't expect, I produce every single thing that is mine. Every single
Wow.
thing that has been heard of Aux Alaio is literally just made by me in my
Yo,
weird spaces.
yo,
So,
cool.
and the funny thing, the funny thing is the songs you mentioned are quite acclaimed to the point where I didn't think they would be loved as much as they are.
Mm.
Because I'll just create all of this music using my phone. So I'd literally just produce it, record it, mix it, master it using my phone. And I think, yeah, this sounds okay. Let me just put it out for people to hear. And
Mm.
those were songs that I really least expected. But I saw why, they have such acclamation. It's because, of the spirituality in them and how they're shaped, to tug into a person's heart. So it's all of those things. And it means my pushing the boundaries is working well. Well to
Mm.
the extent where even out of my reach, it's doing well.
So for you, when it comes to the stuff that you actually produce, that you eventually or thereafter go on in terms of your vocals and stuff, are there any artists that you sort of mold the sound from? Are there any artists that you sort of draw inspiration from, that give you that sort of distinctive sound, or have maybe similar elements within their vibe?
Oh yes, definitely. So you mentioned someone that I literally praise as a god. So you mentioned Bjork, who is such a talented musician, such a talented creative. That's someone that I've always had as a template to emulate in my life.
Mm.
But emulation and creativity means you're taking it a step further than where they took it. So you're like the likes of Bjork. When it comes to vocals as well, I think people like Moses Sumney, Sir Prince of Feet, James Blake, even in production, Steve Spacek, these are people that I've found, and without attempting to, but just creating something, I realize a certain element of maybe something they did in like '97, and I'm like, this is them pushing the envelope at that time, and this is me trying to do the same thing now, but I'm realizing that there's a similarity maybe in maybe some harp or string or like a synth. So there's certain things that I think I'm not doing, but when I play it back, I'm like, oh my god, this is like definitely something that Bjork would have done, in this era, because it speaks to where they were, and that speaks to where I am now. So I think what I love about that exactly is that you find relativity in another artist, which means that you're on the right path. You're not you're not astray. You're not lost. You're not doing something that's unheard of and or unworthy of being played. So you're in the right direction. It kind of affirms me. It says, okay, look, yes, I realized that I didn't do this purposefully, but the fact that it could be understood in the same magnitude that someone I'm looking up to did it, I think that alone deserves appraisal. So yeah, I'm very much influenced by various artists. I soak up all their essences, and I use that also into fueling what my new ideas are, or what I'd like to further announce in terms of what they'd done before. So yeah, I pick it up here and there, and I sing literally 24/7. Now that I'm sick, I try not to, because, well, trying to preserve whatever vocals I have. But literally 24/7, I would sing maybe like something that isn't a vocal in someone's song. I'd create maybe whatever guitar riff that was in the song, and I'd sing that, and I'd translate that into what that means to me, and how I can base myself around that. And there are
Mm.
various African artists also that I've found that have found themselves in that space of creating alternative music and being seen as, you know, something that doesn't belong in that country because no one's accepting it as much. But we love basing ourselves here because we're trying to grow all of that. And I think it's also playing to that, you know, trying to make sure that it becomes something that's a lasting impression. So like just like how sampling in hip hop worked in the 90s and 2000s, that culture of you know, preserving that freshness. So you know how they sample your Nina Simone's and people that did jazz and all of that,
Mm.
and how that was like such a great basis for what hip hop is right now. It's
Mm.
the same with alternative, you know. So we draw all this inspiration and we kind of preserve it, and we add our elements to it, and we make sure that the sound itself always lasts. It changes, but it always will be there, you know. So I think, oh, I answered that very well. Actually, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed. I'm tooting my own horn, dude.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I think the most impressive thing, you know, or one of the impressive things about what you're pulling off is that you look up to, you know, we would even call them pioneers, you know, when it comes to your production and stuff. But then you also mentioned, you know, the African influence. It basically means that your fan base could literally come from both spectrums. You know, who is, you know, Aux Alaio's target market in a way when you look at all the feedback that you've gotten, you know, since you started?
I think quite thinly spread in terms of every part of what music is, because I think anyone can consume any type of music and they could be drawn to any type of music. So I make music for feeling more than enjoyment, or just, you know, just understanding what I'm saying or meaning. So I think that's also very important to highlight, because when I make music in Gesulu, I actually don't consider, or I don't really think about the fact that I'm singing Zulu and someone might not hear me in another country. You know, I've consumed so much music in my life where I didn't know what the lyrics were, and I was okay with that because I felt what I needed to feel. So with my making music, I also shape it that same way, in terms of just trying to be, you know, trying to create, and whoever takes it in is actually fortunate enough to experience that. So my target market would be anyone that would be willing to have a challenge or to try something new, and yeah, to just feel more than anything. I found that people understood my spirituality more than anything. I would be singing about maybe a boyfriend or whatever, but how can I put this? I wouldn't necessarily base my lyrics on that, but I would base the feeling of what I'm trying to portray, you know, around what I'm projecting.
Mm.
So with my lyrics and my production, it always goes hand in hand, where it tells a story before I even say a word. So I could literally be humming and miming, or just, you know, chanting or doing whatever, but
Mm.
it would translate into whatever a person wants it to be, you know. So
Mm.
with the people that kind of not compared me, but aligned me towards things that are very African and spiritual, even though I didn't make that sound with that in mind. It kind of made me feel at ease, because that means there's more that they can understand. There's more that I could learn from, you know, the people and the pioneers that carried the African traditional spirituality, kind of music and creativity. So I'm feeding off of that, and I'm just, you know, learning. And right now I'm actually just trying to make sure that I perfect my Africanism so much that it's undiluted when it gets to certain places, because I've noticed that, you know, when trying to work with maybe people that are from abroad, I tend to kind of want to make it commercially viable, but I then can't, because it's not in my true nature. You know, I stop myself. So it then just becomes easier to just say, you know what, let's dumb it down. Let's create what we feel is right, and even if they don't hear what I'm saying, they will feel it. You know. So I have something that's going to be dropping soon. With, you know, someone that's from the UK. And that's just something that I've been really passionate about right now, because I sang this Zulu, I rapped in this Zulu. Like, it's something that is just, you know, it's, I created a sound after, you know, their approach to what they think I would be making, you know. So we created something amazing, okay, sharp. And yeah, this just, you know, blew everything into proportion. That's where I knew that, oh shit, I don't really have to, you know, dilute or wash myself down so that I could be heard, you know. I just have to be felt, you know. So it's all of those things. Yeah, so South Africa abroad, anything that I try and do is always challenging, and I'd like for the listener to find it challenging too. So if you're in San Francisco, if you're in Austria, whatever, and you're just gonna hear some Zulu ass person from South Africa sing well, just take that in. Just take that in.
So with you, looking at other like-minded artists, from South Africa as a country, which of these other artists would you say, you sort of give props to, or maybe you would even want to work with in the future, or say maybe you admire, in some way?
Whew. There is a long list. I'm working with some of them. I'm kind of shaping our relationship with some of them, but top of my head right now, I could say Desire Maria, I could say Nduduzo Makatsini, Dabo Zulu. These are people that have touched on African jazz, which is something that I live by. That's a genre that has fed me my entire life, even when I didn't know it was. Especially as a child, when your grandparents or whatever are playing that. So African artists that really are able to just be just that, an African artist shining in the club. So there's a whole lot of people that I've found that are in alignment with what I'm trying to be and where I'm trying to go. So the people that I've mentioned have kind of shed light in my life, and that's why I've mentioned them first, because they have had such an impactful kind of collision with what I didn't see in my life. So they've helped me kind of put myself together. They've helped me reshape who I keep around me and what I view myself as. And that's very important because of those interactions. I regard them highly. But I would definitely love to work with your Zoe Mudijas, your Nakane Tories. There's so many people right now that I'm not even, oh my God, and I know they're literally listening. But friends, y'all that make dope ass music, I'm gonna work with y'all so hard. We're definitely gonna put in the work. I know for a fact that there's so much. It's not even potential. I think it would be downplaying it if we say there's so much potential in South Africa. There's so much great ass talent that it's just booming. It's just haywire. It's literally everywhere, and that's why it has kept us afloat. Even in these trying times, I think if we had only focused on being South African artists that are loved by just South African people, we would have kind of crumbled down in terms of certain opportunities and things that would have, not led us to have a meal at the end of the day. So broadening our mindsets, that's already inspiring for me. Seeing a person doing that, like I said, I love seeing people shine. So seeing those people shine so hard, that made me, even hungrier to make sure that I just work at myself so hard that it's easier for me to say, okay, I can finally breathe. I can finally be heard in the direction or in the trajectory that I have set for myself. So yeah, there's so many, even African artists, people from Uganda, Ethiopia, that are making such lovely music that are being celebrated in the entire globe, but their home countries. So that sometimes that's sad, but sometimes it's what it is, and we just take it in our stride. So it's all of that. We find community even in those kind of likeness. So if we're very alternative, we will be so drawn together because we have, so much so that we carry each other forward and we make sure that we all eat and all of those things. So it's just a big ass community that I really have found to help not just me, but a lot of people that look up into that. So yeah.
I just like to say to you, from my, this is my personal opinion, right? Just looking at,
Mhm.
your the way your music sounds, and your social media, and just the aesthetic and energies that you emit. I honestly see you being a future icon here in South Africa. Like, I
Mm,
honestly want us to
mm.
I want us to look back at this interview as a time capsule, and I want us to
Oh
look back to the
yes.
year 2021 when that manifests, and I want us to look
Mm.
back at this and just remember this moment, because I honestly I don't know what it is that is telling me that this is gonna happen, but I for one just sincerely just pray and hope that you just never stop what you're doing. There's always, you know room to learn something from someone or an individual. Someone always has a story, and reason why I bring that up is because earlier on you did mention, that you're non-binary. Now I feel like this is a term that not many have an understanding. What would you say, being non-binary is about? Like, what does it mean, to Aux Alaio?
Okay. I love the fact that you asked what it means to me, because this is a very individualistic feeling and kind of thing that you find yourself in as a person. Uh, I'm non-binary because I generally don't believe that I was born to be a man or a woman. I don't conform to the binary code of doing this or that. There's the fact that there's the or between this and that. That means there's something that is other than that. Because there's a lot of expectations and things that are pinned against people just because of their sexuality or their how they identify with their gender. A man shouldn't do this, a man shouldn't do that. A woman is, like there's so many levels and layers to what gender identity is that I've always realized in my life that I shouldn't, be part of any of that discourse, because it's not meant for me. It's not something that I identify as a trait I would like to carry. The connotation. So I identified as gay as a kid because that's what I knew myself as. Obviously, being in the closet, I wouldn't say that out loud. But when I came out, I started, learning a lot about myself, and this was in first year, so I was probably 20. Learning a lot about myself, just getting into who I am and how I want to express my life and my identity and all of that. And I realized that, if I want to dress up in a certain way, there's already questions like, why would a man dress like that? Or if I, speak on something, it would be, a man shouldn't, say this, a man shouldn't support that, because, I was born with a certain genitalia. So it's all of those things, trying to exclude myself from, the norm, and just wanting to be myself thoroughly, through and through. And that's why it even kind of translates in my music and everything that I do creatively, because it's always just a broader sense of perspective. It's always just me saying, I don't want to be confined to what I'm being given. I'd rather look at it from another angle and work at it that way, So that's how I carry myself in my life as well. So I identify as non-binary because of that. In my essence, I don't find, any relevance to gender. So yeah, my entire life has been that. It's just, I think, understanding certain terms and just every single day trying to learn about myself and really just getting the word for what I'd known in my life, but just getting the term for it and going, oh, that's what this means. This is what I've been identifying as all my entire life, So it's all of that. And yeah, it's something that we should have more discourse about as a nation, as a people. We should definitely get into grips with understanding that there's more to life than what we think we know, and it's okay to want to learn about it. There's incompetence, and we understand that unlearning can only benefit incompetence by means of educating you. So it's all of those things, and yeah, we just. I found a lot of people that are like me. I found a lot of people that are in the same mindset of just understanding the world in a different view. So I've gravitated towards them a lot more, and we found community in that. In the LGBTQI community, we understand, and we always try to not preach, though it might seem like we're kind of drilling it into people's minds, which we actually are. But we're trying to educate more than anything. We're just trying to be visible, and we're not trying to ask for that acceptance, but we're trying to make sure that people see that we are visible, and we should be, I don't know, we should be just there in the space. We shouldn't ask for anything. So yes, so my gender identity just has nothing to do with I don't know if there's anything connotative about it or denotative, but I think it's just my identity, how I see my world, and how I want to shape it.
I'm really glad that we were able to touch on this, because it is really a moment, even for myself, to learn, about, the different use of pronouns and pronouns that are preferable, to certain people and whatnot, because I really feel like a lot of the hatred comes from, being uneducated. There's no justification for anyone who uses any derogatory terms and whatnot. But, it's moments like these where you're able to gain, knowledge and understanding as to where a person is coming from, and you're able to then, relate, to what they're saying and have better understanding. So I can't thank you enough for teaching us, about, being non-binary, and I really hope that, it leaves even, a listener having a better understanding on that. Earlier on, you were mentioning that, there's a project that you're working on, or something new that you're working on, with a couple of other artists as well. So are you in a position to probably, maybe shed some light on that in terms of, who you'll be working with, the sound, what it's going to be called, just details on, what's sort of coming in terms of, the music?
Oh, there are certain things that I could kind of spill at this point because they're in the works. So, like I said, I'm collaborating with a UK artist called OK Shop, mainly known for working, with like great artists like Manterebane, DJ Lag, Anticipated, and all of that. So they have kind of really led or shared kind of help. I'd say actually a lot of help in terms of what I realize or recognize myself as in the global space and all of that. So what we're working on is a song, but there's a lot more that's coming after that. A song that could drop probably in a good month from now. Okay, if you're listening to just like let's drop this, let's drop this shit now. But we're definitely just gonna be working on the visuals for the song. Supposed to be shooting this probably starting tomorrow or Monday. So yeah, we have the song. It's a joy of ours called Yakushi that we've been drafting, I think, from last year in December or something. So we could just, yeah, we've really been working on this for a long time, and that's going to be. I have no specific dates, like I said, but I'm really hoping that in a month from now we'll bombs away. Um, I have an album that I'm working on currently. That's also in the works. I'd like to say after October, I'd be then looking for a date because right now I'm just kind of all over the place. I'm going to be in and out of the country and all of that, so it's just a lot of things that are going to be keeping me busy. But with the album that I'm going to be working on, it's fully produced by me. It's just it's more of, I think I'll call it Chakra Zulu 2, even if I could explain it in terms of a sound and something that you could expect. It's a lot of emotion, it's a lot of ambiance, it's a lot of just depth in various forms. So yeah, that's I haven't even really titled it well, but right now I have the name Becoming. The title, yeah, the title Becoming for me just spoke to me. So I think I'm working with that for now. I'm just working at a lot of collaborations. I'm doing something with Jumping Backslash from Cape Town, Odos from Cape Town. I'm just working with artists that I've always looked up to and said they've made great music, and for them to kind of hit me up or reach out and say, I just don't spot potential, but I spot greatness from you. So let's do this. That alone just kept me going as far as I am now. So yeah, I'm just doing a lot of collaborative work with people that I consider my idols. I'm also going to be dabbling into a lot of jazz. That's something that like I said, has been a constant. So I'm looking to just going into the jazz scene and just blurring out for a bit. The aesthetics are gonna diminish at some point. I'm just gonna zone into what a true artist that creates jazz does. So yeah, there's a lot. I think I'm very excited about the jazz and the deeper and the emotive sounds that I'm doing. Yeah, and more especially because I'm in the right place to be doing that right now. But the other types of sounds that I'm doing, that are more uppity and giddy, and things that can be played in clubs or just lounges and places that are considered fun. Those kind of sounds are things that are very true to me, but I'm just kind of pushing them for the sake of making sure that I understand my reach, and I understand where I'm going, because that obviously is a way to clear the path. But because the deeper sound is always appreciated at a slower rate. That's very, daunting to do. So I'd rather pave the way with something that's going to be, very welcoming, so that people can understand that Aux Alaio is, an artist that does more than just a happy sound, because that's what I've noticed, sells a lot from my side. I'm just kind of shaping my collaborations so that they kind of balance each other in all, in all forms. And I'm just making sure that they carry each other through the various types of Aux Alaio and what they do and all of that. So there's a lot that's coming out. I think maybe I'm going to have to start really just focusing on just the music, because I'm doing a lot of other work that in the creative scene. But the music is like you said, if I would stop making music, like I think the world would stop too. So um, I think I have to just focus on the music for, I think, as of next year, and just make sure that that is my constant and that's my bread. Like I said, I'll just dive into it, and that will be who I am for, I think, the rest of my life.
I, for one, am super excited, for what's coming up for you. And I know I said there was a last question, but I cannot end off the show without even asking you this one, because I feel like it's one of the most important. I know I'm pulling the typical pastor's move. Hey, we almost done.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, let's start again.
Exactly.
Definitely, yes.
What I'm wanting to find out from you is your name. Like, is there any story behind that?
Okay, so the name actually just came about when I think I was around 18. So I was in a studio session, I think one of my first or second studio sessions in my life, at a friend's place. So I lived in Durban at the time. So this was in Montclair, in a studio session, and they did hip hop, yeah, sure, but I just always came through with something a little soulful, something in depth as fuck, and we just kept saying a lot of mantras that we even carry even today, So I remember, because, like I said, we were drunk and stuff. I just saw myself saying, "Okusalayo mfethu soyenza lento lesongena sibangena kule interest," like we just kept saying "Okusalayo mfethu mina ngiyakutshela Okusalayo kanje 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 Okusalayo." So it was like, it was such a great word for that night, that when I got home, I really just kept thinking about that word and how much gravitas it has, how much weight it carried, because of, you can just say Okusalayo, a person will understand Uguti. Yes, I understand that your positioning right now isn't well, but you see a lot of yourself in the future, and you see yourself doing greater, just by saying that word. So that word really meant a lot to me. So I remember texting my friend, and I said, yeah, yes, was busy with Oksala, because we just had, jokes about how much I'd say that word. So yeah, I just said, I'll call myself Oksalayo, because I had a different pseudonym at the time that I really didn't like. So I just said that, and he was like, yeah, Velinji, that's going to be your name. If you're going to search my name, it's not going to be very easy for you to find, what Aux Alaio does, but you'll maybe find definitions or just maybe tweets or whatever of people just saying the word. So I just thought, you know what, me being out the box, me just being something that's, just generally myself, I then just stylized in a different way, and I saw that fitting as much as, as it would. So especially with the aux, I first felt it in a different way, but I just wanted to connect it with the music. Oh, pun intended. Connect the aux to the music. The way. So it's one of those things where I just, would realize that there's so much power in just using one word, and just identifying yourself as this person and this word. And if someone calls you, even if by joke, I say, yeah, Aux Alaio, but like it's always going to be something that sticks into their head, and this word means more than just what it says. So that's how I then reached the decision of changing my name to that, and it's worked perfectly for my career.
At home, are they supportive of you being an artist?
Yeah, I could say they aren't, because I left home, so I live on my own now because I just wanted to pursue my own thing. But yeah, they know that, they've always known that I've had the calling. That's why they'd even drive me to the rehearsals for the World Cup and all that. It's something that they've known that I possess a great talent, and I don't think they could run away from it here, because, like I said, I sing 24/7 constantly. And the thing is, I would annoy them. So if I would be asked to go and wash the dishes, I would sing. And if they don't want me to sing, that means they wouldn't have to, ask me to wash the dishes. So it's those kind of things. So like it would be like something that's always in my mind and my life. So I could say their support kind of stopped in the point where now it's like, okay, choose a career or whatever. Just like I think the normal average person in South Africa, that grew up, in a household that believes in like that, in those things. So I'm just doing me now,
Is there any reason you moved, from Durban?
So okay, I was born in like Greytown, which is like in rural KZN. Then I moved to Joburg when I was like 4 months old. So I lived here. Like it was my life until like grade eight. Yeah, I moved to Durban when I was in grade eight. So I think that, because of my family divorcing and all of that, that kind of just changed my life. So I had to go to Durban because that's the next best place I had to go to. So growing up in Durban, I didn't have the exact, upbringing that the people that lived there had. So I'd always had, a vision of something big being bigger than Durban, and I'm not saying this as a bad thing, but a lot of the people that I was around at the time thought Durban was it, like I'll make sure that, I'll blow up in Durban and that, I just rep my city and that's it, it's those kind of things. And I've always seen a bigger world, especially having experienced things like the World Cup and all of that. So it's always been, it had always been in my head that I'd have to move back to Joburg in order for me to continue my life again. But I used my time in Durban very wisely because I learned more about myself. I learned about, especially because it was like formative years from age 14 to 21. That was very, important for my outlook in life in general. So I had to experience the highs and lows, living in Lazi, living, like just understanding what's in Bilo Iranjani and how we can, move past that. So yeah, that kind of helped me shape who I am right now. And my decision to move here was just solely based on the fact that I knew that I had to continue my life here. But also I'm kind of like considering moving away from here as well, because like there's so many people that I know that have moved out of Joburg and are still doing amazing because they just understand, especially now with the internet age and all of that, they understand that music can be made in any way, like I'm making a song with someone that's in the UK right now and, I'm still in Joburg. So it's those kind of things where I can just move to a farm and just live my life, but create and, just be present in terms of everything I want to do. So yeah, my life will always be evolving. So the same way I looked to continue my life here, I'm looking to continue it in other places, just so that it kind of shapes my creativity at that time.
Now that was beautiful. Aux Alaio, I can't thank you enough for joining me, for this chat. These are the kind of things that money just can't buy. So I'll always be grateful for this opportunity.
I'm so grateful to be part of this and to be, even interviewed, like someone just caring enough to ask about why I make the music I make. That's, I think, also part of the reason why I create, because like I said, I love challenging people and all of that. So had it not been challenging as it is, certain questions would have not been posed as they were, So I'm really, really grateful.
Anytime. So just for, when if people want to work with you or people want to get in touch and reach out in any way, what are your platforms and handles and stuff?
Oh, everything is Aux Alaio, so that's AUXALAIO. I'm gonna say it twice because that's what people usually do. It's AUXALAIO. I should do like voiceovers. Yeah, literally just on across all platforms. Same handle, and yeah, I'm very, very accessible. Like y'all are lucky as hell. Like I'm accessible as hell. You send me a DM now, I'll respond. So yeah, I'm open for collaborations with people that are, like-minded and just want to challenge themselves and want to challenge me. I'd love to find, people that just want to challenge me.
Nah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone as well who's just been listening, to this episode and just growing together with us and the artist Aux Alaio. I really hope that you guys continue to follow his journey. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, you've heard his handles. Our handles, we are at Sludge Underground on Instagram, at Sludge Underground on Facebook, at Sludge031 on Twitter. And if you want to be listening to the episodes, they're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and obviously SoundCloud as well. We are Sludge Underground Podcast. And yeah, until next time, it's bye for now.